Welcome, everyone. You are listening to the Vibrant Family Podcast of FCBC Walnut with Pastor Terrence Shea and Katy Lee. We aim to bring our church's disciple-making vision to life by connecting church as family and family as church. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Vibrant Family Podcast, and this is our Father's Day edition. And with me are three women, and we're going to talk about Father's Day. And let me start with just a quick introduction of each one. Okay, let's start. Go ahead and start with Robin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robin, and my husband is Danny. We've been married for 6 years, and we have 2 kids. Augie is 4.5, and Junie is about to turn 2 in a couple days. She'll be 2. And then we're expecting one in November.
Oh, exciting, Robin. How about Becca?
Hi, I'm Becca, and I'm married to Stanley Lowe for about a year and a half. And we have a 9-month-old named Aiden.
Okay. And Helen?
Hi, I'm Helen. We've been married to John. We've been married for 4 years. And I have one baby girl. Taller now. Is 3 years old.
Now, some of those who are listening today might recognize them from the parent dedication, because each one of you have had an opportunity to participate in parent dedication recently. Let's see. Let's get right into our questions about our husbands. I want to ask you this. What is something new and maybe have pleasantly surprised you about your husband since he became a dad?
I mean, for me, it was something that I suspected, because Danny, if you know him, he's very playful, and I always knew he was good with kids. But I guess the thing that was new that I learned about him was how engaging he would be with our own kids, and he's so patient with them, and in teaching them new things, and bringing them into the activities that we're interested in, and very patient in teaching them and playing with them, and even sacrificing his own playing time in order to share that with them. So that's something that new that I learned about him.
Yeah, we really enjoy having Danny be our games leader in Awana, so we know he loves to play with kids, and it's good to know that he does that even more so, engaging his own children at home.
Yeah, and he loves serving in Awana too. Yeah.
How about Becca? What would you say would be something that maybe you were pleasantly surprised to find out about Stanley?
I guess it really wasn't anything new, because I've always appreciated it about Stanley. I think the thing I appreciate the most of Stanley was how much he loved to serve others. And I was surprised how much more he served, especially after I had Aiden. And he's always been very considerate of others, and he would always try and think for others. And so I've just been very grateful, the tangible act of love of serving Aiden and I, and he does all the household chores, and so it was just really nice too.
And I know Stanley's a good cook. Does he do all the cooking?
Yeah, I can't cook, so he has to cook.
How about Helen?
Trying to remember. He's actually, I found out he's actually very gentle. I mean, he's not a rough-going guy, but I was pleasantly surprised at how gentle he is with Harper. I don't know if because she's a girl, but I think I'm a little bit more rough on her, or I play more roughly with her than he does. He's more gentle, mommy, gentle. So it's nice so that Harper can see how, men being gentle too. The other one I wrote was that he's a light sleeper, which is great for me because I am a very deep sleeper. So when Harper wakes up at like 3, 4, 5 in the morning, he wakes up and attends to her versus me. I'm like, I wake up and go, oh, did that happen? I mean, sometimes I hear her, but yeah, he really can't just ignore her cries. Yeah, so yeah, it works to my advantage on weekend mornings.
Wow. Are your other Robin and is Danny and Stanley light sleepers to wake up like that too?
No. Well, Danny, yeah, I'm a lighter sleeper than he is, but we're both considered heavy sleepers. I'll usually hear the kid first, and then I'll like slap him so that he goes to attend to them. But yeah,
I remember doing that too. I wake up and then nudge him and pretend that I'm still sleeping.
No, I'm definitely like Helen. I'll wake up in the morning and be like, oh, you cried? Oh, really? What happened?
Well, what I appreciate about Mike, oh, I didn't introduce myself. My husband is Mike, and we've been married 36 years. And we have 3 adult children and 2 grandchildren. And what I appreciate most about Mike is that he is very even-tempered. And I knew he was like that, but I mean, he's so patient with the children. He never yelled at the kids. I mean, I would yell at the kids and get impatient. He never yelled at the kids. Actually, he never yelled at me or anyone. He's just really very even-tempered. And I appreciate that, especially with the children. When I get impatient, he can, kind of take over and be the voice of reason. Yeah. Well, what do you see as what you appreciate about your husband as a father? I know we talked a little bit about that already, but is there a quality that you really appreciate about your husband right now as a father, since we're celebrating Father's Day?
I think for me, I appreciate Stanley, not just as a father, but also as a husband, as by his faithfulness. I think having Aiden had a lot of trials in the beginning. I think Aiden was born almost 2 months preemie, and then he spent a month in the NICU, and then he needed surgery for his hernia. But through it all, and thinking that since I'm in the medical profession, I should be more patient or like not as scared. But I think the worst case scenarios would run through my mind, and so I would be more afraid. But I think Stanley has been so steadfast in prayer and in his trust of God and leading our family in prayer. It really has been a huge anchor for me. And so, like when I'm anxious or worried, it's Stanley that has reminded me to cast my worries. So I really and I think that's part of his character to begin with, but I feel like as a father, that's really important for the family.
I can share next. I wrote that he, I guess, as a father and as a husband too, just being very supportive in like the decisions that I make, like being a stay-at-home mom. He really was 100% in. And now that am a stay-at-home mom, now I want to go back to work or think about, the future of going back to work. He's supportive of that too. So I guess just a lot of decisions that I'm unsure of, he is 100% confident, I guess, in me to pursue it. Another example would be like parenting decisions. He's like on board with whatever discipline method or whatever sleeping method. I guess so. I would call him a great teammate.
Danny too. Like I really appreciate that with a lot of the parenting, like all of the parenting decisions. Like we've had to like have conversations about them, and yeah, with like in the beginning, like with the sleeping, and then with Augie's potty training. I don't know if you guys know, but we had a really hard time potty training him. But he really takes like lead of those endeavors, and like so we'll talk about it, and we'll come up with an approach to like how to tackle some sort of problem or challenge with the kids, and he's the one who will like take the reins on actually doing it. And so I would say that 95% of Augie's potty training is Danny's work, and he's just so like involved in their like everyday routines. Like he brushes their teeth, he'll like, and we're all bedtime too is really important to us, and I think Danny really like anchors that. He gathers he throws the kids onto the bed, and we like sing like a song, and Danny will like either pray or like have someone pray, and he'll kind of like lead a like, oh, who should we pray for? I just really appreciate that he's like involved in that way, through the challenges and also through the proactive like just like involvement that he has with the kids.
Yeah, that's great. And I hope that those of you who are listening are also thinking about ways that you appreciate your husbands right now for Father's Day, because our husbands do work really hard, don't they? They do give up a lot of their own time and self-sacrifice for the family. We want to appreciate them for that. I know that comes with parenting, with young children especially. What has been some major hardships or adjustments in your family in being a parent?
For us, I think the most biggest adjustment we made as a family was during COVID. So just because of COVID first, and he also started a new job during that time, and so he had to fly out like Monday through Thursday, and we wouldn't be able to see him until the weekend. The good part was he got Friday off, but we really had to learn to communicate a lot, because I wouldn't be able to really talk to him during the week because he would be busy. And the time changes or whatnot, he would be too tired. So most of our updates would be during the weekend. So, I mean, we definitely hit rock. I mean, it was bumpy in the beginning. Yes, but we learned to appreciate a longer weekend together, and definitely was pushed to learn to communicate.
That's a hard one, Helen, to have your husband be gone most of the week. But I'm glad that God has sustained you, and you're growing through that to learn to grow your marriage even while apart.
Yeah. I mean, the good part was I didn't have to cook dinner for. That worked out.
Yeah, for us, I'd say the hardest thing is making time for each other as a married couple. Before we had kids, I felt like we had time to do our own thing and then also spend time with each other. But when we had kids, I think the first thing that we would do after we had like free time would be to do our own thing. And so really being intentional with that, the precious time that we have, without the kids, running around and, bothering or interrupting like us and our time. That was something that was a challenge for us to really fight for. So yeah, I think there have been improvements in during COVID too, just having less like social activities with, outside of the home, and having more time inside the home to spend with each other as well. That helps too. So, I think that's something that we can also get prayer for, that we'll continue to be intentional about our time together as husband and wife.
Yeah, I was just thinking the other day when I was enjoying a long shower and then I clipped my nails and then I did my nighttime stretch and I thought, what a luxury that I couldn't do this when the kids were young. I specifically thought that. I thought, man, I have a whole like hour before bedtime to enjoy time to myself. I couldn't do this when my kids were young. And time to yourself and for with each other was almost non-existent, and that was hard. But that time was a season that has passed for us in our family, and now our adjustment is that the house is a little too quiet, and I have a little too much time. Well, never too much time, but it is still the intentional being together, and not just like, well, I'll just do my own thing and you do your thing. So even with free time now, or more free time now, we're still learning to be intentional and spending that time together too.
I think for us, it's been, I think the major adjustment has been our disagreements on parenting. And a lot of our major arguments, I think, since having Aiden, has stemmed from how to care for him. We're both very stubborn and very passionate too, so our arguments can get very heated. And so we're still working on our communication skills. Hopefully, it has improved a bit. I think it's to remind ourselves that we're on the same team and we both love Aiden very much and want the best for him. And so I think keeping that in mind hopefully will bring us to not argue so much about our different parenting ideas.
Well, that's not unusual given that you come from every spouse comes from a different family background with different habits. It's good that you're learning to communicate through all that. How can we be supporting you guys and praying for you and your husband and your family? I know Robin mentioned about having intentional time with each other. Anything else that we could be praying for you as we close today's conversation?
Yeah, I think right now, especially, we're thinking a lot about education choices, and like going through that decision together too. It was something that we talked about was not being like reactionary, like, oh, something happened at school where there's like a challenge or something, and then, oh, okay, now we're gonna homeschool. I think, yeah, we don't want to approach it that way, but be like proactive about like what will be best for our family. So we're going through that decision process, and then also just in general to establishing like a routine, like Bible study with the kids, or Bible story time, apart from our nightly routine. Something we want to establish.
Thanks for pointing those out, Robin. I think every family probably struggles with those two issues right now as well. The education decision is a big one.
For us, I'd say definitely being more intentional, like going on dates. It's hard with kids. So yeah, definitely that, and just spiritual maturity, I guess. Harper is 3, so she catches a lot of things, and she's very fast at catching like someone is upset or if something is wrong, and so I guess if we're not mature in our conflicts, she will catch it, even if I think my tone is nice or John thinks his phone is not harsh, she will catch that we are upset, so she'll say stop fighting. So yeah, just being a little more gentle with our tone and in the situations. Because she does mimic. So if I'm rough, she'll be rough, and etc. So yeah, I guess self-control is something I teach her, but it's something that is deeply pulling on my heart.
Yeah, that's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when you hear yourself say something to your kids, and you're like, wait a minute, God's probably saying that to me. Mm.
Yeah, and also using her to remind you.
Yeah.
For us, just prayer to learn how to continue to care for Aiden. Like we think we have his schedule set, and then like 2 weeks later, he changes it because he's just growing, he's still a baby, and so we're just trying to play catch up all the time. And then also to set aside time for ourselves too, and to work on our marriage. Because we do want to raise them up in a God-fearing household, but if we don't have the time for devotions, or if we don't regularly pray and have our own devotions, how can we expect to raise him in such a household? So I think for us to be able to set aside the time to have routine like devotions together.
Having children really keeps us accountable to our children to do the right thing. Yeah, having children has really, in that process, God has used to sanctify me. Like I mentioned earlier, I get impatient. I didn't know I was an impatient person. Then having kids, I thought, oh, this is an area that God is really working on in my life. So yeah, it's good. It's good for us. I think for us, having no adult children, we have adult children now. We really want to spend our time well in serving others, serving at church, of course, but in just being generous with our time. Otherwise, I would love to just have the luxury of doing what I want with my time, now that I have the time, but to use our time well. And as we get older, we don't have that much time left. So I feel like I want to make sure as the Bible tells us, to live wisely. Let's wish all our husbands happy Father's Day.
Happy
Father's
Happy
Day.
Father's Day. And to all the fathers, grandfathers, spiritual fathers out there, celebrate. So you get once a year, you get to, I think you get a break. I don't know. Is your husband going to get a break this Sunday?
We have to eat, so.
Oh.
Well, hopefully that listening to this podcast will encourage your husbands here, and as well as other husbands, and that the wives will take this opportunity, and those who and take an opportunity to say Happy Father's Day to your spiritual fathers, grandfathers, uncles, those who are like fathers to you. They have all been an influence in our lives to shape us who we are, and we appreciate them all. So, all right. Thank you so much for everyone for listening, and thank you, ladies, for being a part of today's podcast.